And we're live. Maybe. I'm going to do my traditional waffling for about a minute while I wait for the, whatchamacallit, the stream to catch up with the Rachael, basically. Twitch is showing me not an advertisement for Nerf guns today, which is fantastic. I have been getting them pretty consistently for a while now, and I'm just going to tweet. Starting now. Ooh, I said I'm going to spell starting correctly. And then we're going to jump right in. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you had a good week. I know for some of y'all it's the weekend already, so yay. Today I am pretty ambitious. I've got a lot of stuff I want to do, and we will see how far we get through it. I want to train this model, this LSTM that we started last week. I want to design a non-neural approach, and I also want to get into feature engineering. And probably I should switch the order on those two, because I probably want to actually, engineer the features before I do the non-neural model, because what that model looks like is going to be very dependent. Hello, Subash, and Jer. Welcome. Yeah, and I thought that we had gotten... Do you hear that? I'll be right back. There's a fan that just kicked on somewhere in my apartment, and it's gonna drive me nuts if I don't get it. 2 seconds. Much better. Okay. My advisor's acoustic problem was always either, because he did field work in Africa, it was either chickens or he'd be recording inside and there'd be a metal roof and there'd be rain on the roof, and that would ruin his recordings. So for me it's fans, because I don't do field work. Yeah, I thought we got a lot farther than we did last week. For some reason I thought that we'd already done like all of the setup, and really we'd just done the model specification. We hadn't even really cleaned up the notebook much, so let's do that. And for those of you who were not here last week, we are using R, just cause there's not, there could be more like Keras documentation for R, so it's kind of like documentation, right? All right, so tokenizing, that's gonna take a second, and we can actually probably put all of this, because I think we were trying to debug, which is why it's in a bunch of different cells. And we can probably put all this pre-processing into a single cell and make it look a little bit better on the eyes. Actually, let's rerun this. And then we can check the headline. Yep, yeah, we've done the embedding. Let's get rid of that. We don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that. Do we need this? So this was checking the max length of the headline. I don't think we need this, so gonna get that out of there. I don't think we need that. And here we just sort of picked an input max length, and I believe, yeah, we set that up there. So 20 words is our maximum length. And this is all of this is pre-processing. So I'm going to put that in a single cell and call that a pre-processing. Tokenization, so splitting things into words and treating each word as a unit. And I guess we'll save this out. I don't know that we really need to save the tokenizer actually. So, yeet. And then this is also part of the tokenization. Yes, and then pad/chop all input sequences to 20. And I believe we were working from an example that was a Siamese network for duplicate question detection from the Quora competition a minute ago. And we had to do quite a bit of finagling to get that to work. And then here is our model specification. And we've got it's pretty vanilla now because we've removed the Siamese network part. So we just have an embedding layer and then an LSTM and then a sigmoid output layer because this isn't sequence to sequence. We're taking in a sentence and deciding whether it's sarcastic or not. So it's classification. So we just need a single value out. And that looks good. And then we specified the actual model. So this is saying what the what each layer looks like, and this is specifying the relationship of the layers to each other. But I'm also a little bit confused because we have this input layer, and then we also have this layer which has the input as the input to it. So it could be that we have an input layer and then an identical layer and then our embedders and then our LSTM layer. No, because it's a sequence embedder that's LSTM. So this is the final model specification, but also this is the final model specification. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure of all the ins and outs of the Keras syntax. Okay. So this is model specification. We're using Atom. That's pretty standard specification. And we don't need to specify anything in the LSTM. I'm gonna assume those are reasonable defaults. I guess we'll find out, huh? And then we had our yeah, because I didn't actually run this whole cell. And then we had our little summary of our model. So we can see that there is the input layer, an embedding layer, one LSTM layer, and then the final layer with the sigmoid activation that is our, sort of takes our network and gives us a prediction. And it's got, you know, a couple of trainable parameters, one or two. So that we're all good with. So our model is pretty much set up, and this is a good sort of baseline, I think. And we don't actually have that many records, so we only have 26,000, and we're about to like chunk those a little bit more. Chair says, I love Keras summary method. Yeah, it's really nice, isn't it? It's helpful. Because I don't know, I think of architectures in terms of graphs. I'm sure those of you who have done a lot of work in this field do too. And then trying to get from like the graph from this sequence of things can be a little bit rough. So the summary is very nice. And what were we doing? Okay, so the thing that we need to do is we need to split into testing and training, and then we need to train. And my thought was, while we were training, testing, training, split. And it's not actually a hyperparameter, but I am going to need to set a random seed at some point. And this is an R, so we could use caret for this. But, oh, and this is a good final, a good announcement for people. Caret has been, it's not deprecated, it's still going, but there's a new model called parsnip? Or maybe rutabaga. Parsnip, it is parsnip. Which is going to sort of like take over for Keras. And it's this, it's going to be similar to Keras in terms of a way to talk about R models across different, what do you call them? Libraries, across different libraries. So that's good to know. Oh, everyone's working on it. Yeah. Yeah, so you can see that there's a lot of different ways to do sort of the same thing, and this is gonna make that a little bit more more portable between different libraries. So that's really excited. That's really exciting. And I think Max is gonna be focusing on that rather than caret. What was I doing? Oh, right, test train. So we have... let me see if I can't find the thing we were using as an example. So it was the Cora R Keras R Studio. I think that'll be enough terms to get us there. It was not. Let's try Kaggle instead. And yes, let's spell Keras correctly. Let's try maybe Kaggle R Studio TensorFlow. TensorFlow for our blog. I didn't think we'd need this because I thought we'd done all this already, and I was incorrect. Customer churn, CloudML, duplicate questions. Here we go. And we're not going to be able to use exactly their code, his code as a example, because again, this is a whatchamacallit. It's a Siamese network, which is not the same type of network that we are using. So this is their baseline model specification. We've done that. And then they're doing their test train split here. All right. And they're taking it from the pad. Okay, so what they're doing is they're sampling integers. All right, let's just copy paste a bunch of this, and then we're gonna have to rejigger it. I guess we could do our testing and training split after our model specification. It seems a little bit weird, so I might scooch these around after I've got them in a way where I'm happy with them. I really thought we'd done this last time. All right, so we do want to set a seed for reproducibility, and I'm actually going to do that up with our hyperparameters. And because it's R, we should only need to set one seed. I'm going to use just 42 instead of their seed, just because a lot of people use 42. It's a reference to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy if you are unfamiliar. All right, so they are using question 1 padded, which I believe for us is going to be our headline padded variable. All right, and then... All right, and so it's going to be 1/10 of the data. Take 1/10 of the data as validation data. So we're going to train on 90% of the data, and then we're going to validate on the remaining 10% of the data that we haven't looked at, because you can't validate by looking at data that you've trained on. That's cheating. And then... Oop. All right, we're gonna do the headline padded here, and data frame, I think I called ours headlines. Rachel, your variable names are very similar. Listen, you're correct. They are very similar. All right, so once they take the duplicate, file sample, padded, train. Oh, I see. So the validation and the training, and so I just have the validation there, and I need to also get the training. So this is in our negative indexing is the thing that is not in the index. So no, that can't be right. Oh, okay. Yes. Those are both samples. So here I'm taking a random 10% of our data, and then so it's the validation that we need. Val is duplicate. What are we doing with the is duplicate? Green is duplicate. So we're passing it in. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Okay, 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 okay. So the is duplicate is our column from the original data frame that has our target variable in it. So in this case, it's whether or not it's sarcastic. All right, so we do need all of this. So the difference between ours and theirs is that they have 2 questions and we have 1 headline. So let's do a better job of this. So let's get rid of you. Swamp. Let's get rid of you. Swamp. And let's call question 1. Instead, let's call this headline. And we do that. I know there's a copy paste feature somewhere in the depths of the Jupyter help files is the syntax for that, but I always forget. And it's just like 3 things, so I think it's fine. Okay, so the difference here, headline padded is what we called it. And we want to take it from headlines, and I don't actually remember what the column was called that had that information on it, so let's take, oh, that's right, it was a JSON. Is underscore sarcastic. No, it's not sarcastic. All right, get rid of you. Code isn't committed yet. Okay, I will commit it at a later time. Get rid of this window. And all right, get rid of that. Training, except instead of is duplicated, we want is sarcastic because that's the information that we are interested in. I mean, I could use the same variable names as they did, but it would be confusing if I went back and read it later. Training and validation data. And the phrasing here is a little bit interesting because I think I would call this test data, train and test data, and then validation data I tend to think of as a third set of data that you never look at, that's maybe even sampled from a different population. But we can use their terminology. Ain't nothing wrong with that. All right, and now I'm gonna move you here. So I have to do it. So when you're doing training and testing, whatnot, it's important that you do it after any pre-processing that you do so that both the training and the testing data has the same pre-processing. And everything we're doing here is deterministic, but if I were doing something like, you know, shifting a distribution with some parameter that's determined based on the data, I'd want to make sure that the parameter was the same for both the testing and the validation data. The testing and the validation data, the training and the testing data. Ooh, I might not should have had that that last cup of coffee. All right, so we don't actually need a list. We just need our single input value. And instead of train is duplicate, it is called train is sarcastic. And instead of whatever it was, it's train headline padded. And this was train, not like that, headline, and then padded. So this is, so the fit function, just like any R thingadoodle, is going to take in the input, the target, batch size, and epochs we can tune if we want to. I think we should be fairly good. 64 seems like a reasonable batch size. Kabuchi Swag on Twitch says, this may be annoying, but can we get a quick recap of where we are and what has been done so far just joining for the first time? Yeah, of course. I am going to wait just a second for that because I'm about to do something that's going to take a while. So I will do that as soon as we are ready to go here. So instead of having 2 lists, we only need 1 list. So the list is the data structure that's passing in 2 things within a single structure. For the Siamese structure where we have 2 inputs, we want to put them in together. Oh, this should go. All right, no errors right off the bat. So the problem that we're working on today is sarcasm detection. So we have this data set of news headlines, some of which are sarcastic and some of which aren't. So if we look at the some examples, and it looks like, oh, that's right. And this particular data set, I'm remembering now, had instead of each item as a separate, item in a JSON file, it had each one as a separate JSON, and it was just a single file. So there's like a bunch of JSON, complete JSON data structures instead of it being sort of like all under the same root node. But you can see here is an example of a headline, and then here's the tag for whether or not it's sarcastic. So this isn't sarcastic. From a Versace store clothes sues over secret black code for minority shoppers. And let's find an example that is sarcastic, except, oh, I made an error. Arguments imply differing number of rows. All right. Something is wrong. And I don't know what it is. And then there are other ones that are sarcastic, and we want to detect those as sarcastic. So this is a pretty vanilla LSTM deep model that we're using as a baseline, and then hopefully we can get into looking at what other people have done and maybe get into a little bit of feature engineering. Because if y'all are familiar with Kaggle competitions, usually it is the clever feature engineering that wins the day. Plus, I think it's just sort of an interesting question, what tells us that something is sarcastic? So, good question, and thank you for asking, Kabuchi Swag. All right. So, at some point, something has gone wrong, and I'm not entirely sure what it is. So, runtime error, res error key. It's in Reticulate. This might be doable. I've had, shall we say, experiences with Reticulate. At least it's giving me a detailed error. They've gotten much better, but a very early stage of using Reticulate, it would fail silently a lot, like just on the Python error level or just on the R level, and that was frustrating. So, all right, let's look up the, well, actually, first let's look up just a couple of these headlines. I think it was just called headline, and then let's take 10. Oh, that's, I think it was headlines was the actual data frame. All right, what did we call the data frame? Headlines, yeah. All right, well, let's take the head of it instead of a sample then. Just print out the first couple. Okay, so here we have the first one that we looked at, which was not sarcastic. The Roseanne revival catches up to our thorny political mood, for better and worse, not sarcastic. Mom starting to fear son's web series, closest thing she will have to grandchild. That is sarcastic. Oh, it's more like, yeah, they do say sarcasm. I think it's more like irony or insincerity. Jer says, mixing Python and R is frustrating by itself. True. I have faith that we'll get through it. Boner just wants wife to listen, not come up with alternative debt reduction ideas. That is sarcastic. And so these two are from The Onion, and the other ones are from the Huffington Post. Advancing the world's women, not sarcastic. J.K. Rowling wishes Snape happy birthday in the most magical way, not sarcastic. Yeah, sorry, I'm just looking to see if there's any like particular grammatical features that might be particularly useful here. But I'm not seeing any. Right off the bat. Sorry, I'm just sort of staring at things at this point, which is Riveting streaming. Especially because I don't have a face cam. Okay. That is the data. Now we find out the problem. And the first thing I think I want to do is I want to check out this. So this may be a situation where we have to put them in a list of size 1. So let's see if that helps. Which is ridiculous, because you would never, like, a list with 1 item is just whatever that item is. But that might be our problem. Let's see if that helps. And meanwhile, let's look at the rcaris fit documentation. Fit function. That is what I'm interested in. And I didn't just search for fit because, like, literally everything has thingadoogle. Subash says, data leak there. The Onion has got non-sarcastic headlines. The Onion does not have non-sarcastic headlines. They are all sarcastic. So yes, trivially this is solvable, but I'm interested in it. And then on Twitch, Kabuchi Zag says, well, why R? Do you know R better? Would having stuff in quotations be a good indicator of sarcasm? I do know R better. I like R. But also, like I said, I think there's, nope, that's not, that's not the, sorry, I opened a complete another window with a bunch of tabs. Would having stuff in quotations be a good indicator of sarcasm? I don't necessarily think so, because it's fairly common to have things in quotation marks. Like if we're looking at this, specifically in this genre, so this is specifically newspaper headlines, which have a particular, set of qualities. So yeah, so you can see that there's things in quotation marks here that aren't sarcastic. Yeah. All right, did we get an error? Yes. Did we get the same error? Yes. Okay. So it's not that they're in lists. I mean, we did get out a summary that looked like I expected it to, so I don't think it's necessarily in the model specification. I think it's in the fit function. Kanishka on YouTube says, why do I feel that this is more of a satire detection than sarcasm? I think you're right. I think it is more satire. Yeah, but I mean, the data set is called sarcasm detection, so shrug. And actually, let's look at the overview really quickly and see what they say about it. Yeah, so it's the difference between the Onion and the Huffington Post. And there are actually a couple of shared tasks on sarcasm detection that you might look into. But first, I would like this model to run. I want to fit it. Arguments imply differing number of rows, 1 and 0. You know what it might be? I think it might be because I have validation data twice. Does that help? Ba, ba, ba. Ba, ba, ba. Riveting stuff. Well, it hasn't crashed yet, so that's good. And it's been a minute, and we are using that CPU. Look at her go. 309%. We are squeezing the juice out of this lemon. But in the meantime, let's check out this task. So the shared task that I'm familiar with, I think there's a couple of other ones, is this one from SumEval 2018. And if you're not familiar with SumEval, it stands for something. Kabuchi Swag says, what are you trying to fit this to? What is correct goal aside from solving current bug? So the correct goal would be to be able to correctly detect the same gosh darn error, correctly detect sarcasm, and maybe submit a little something to the shared task. I don't know. Kanishka says, some eval may have the task, actually. They do. Great minds. Also, I wish I could stick around a bit longer, but I've got so much stuff due soon. Oh, scooch, 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 scooch. Oh, that reminds me, if any of you are looking at a Knackle paper this year, we have an earlier submission deadline for the abstracts, and that is soon. I want to say it's December 12th and 10th. Maybe. I should know this. I'm on the committee. Knackle deadline. 15th? No. Okay, so the abstracts are due on the 3rd, final papers are due on the 10th, but you do need to do an abstract first. So, y'all, if you're submitting to Knackle, remember, abstract deadline on the 3rd. There we go. I did my help. Yeah, the current goal is to be good at sarcasm detection, which is, as you can see, an established task in NLP. But I can't do that until I fix this. So let's see. I think we did have the somewhere we had the fit function open. Here we go. And I'm also going to try just Googling this error message as well, and see if that can help us. Because it definitely seemed to do something. Something was definitely going on. It was kicking up and running, but I'm not entirely sure where this was being thrown. Kanishka says, we were going to submit to Knackle, but I feel I don't have something good enough for Knackle. Submit anyway! You can do it! Magician2378 says, why no GPU? Right now, because it won't work. And I would like for it to work. And I will consider that once I get it to actually friggin' run. Does the audio keep cutting out for anyone else? Ooh, does anyone else have audio issues? I'm wiggling some wires. Audio is flawless here. Okay. So it is not on my end. Sorry about that, Seamus. All right. Blah, 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 blah. When I try to use a custom metric using Keras and R, I get an error when changing epochs. All right. This is not a problem with the custom metric, but a bug in Keras training history. You can temporarily circumvent this changing to model fit. So am I saving it? No, that's what I'm doing. It will train fine, and you can evaluate model and make predictions, just not plot training history until the bug is fixed. Even if I change that, the error persists. Additionally, I can't see the evolution. All right. Change in the way Keras handles custom metric functions. It should be down here. Magician says, on Twitch, try measuring shape of train label val label just to double check. That's a good idea. All right, let's take a look there. So I'm actually going to do it up here. And I think these should all and then, so I'm just getting the dimensions of these, because if you try to do something with weird dimensions, you will often get errors. And by that, I mean, it has been something that has been a problem for me in the past. Oh, right. And the reason that is, it's R that's length and Python that's len, right? Yeah, okay. Those look good. Yeah, no, I hadn't done that yet. Magician, that was a good call. But it looks like those are reasonable. And it's not exactly 10% of this, but more or less. And it's a relatively large training set. All right, let's get back to this GitHub error. The root cause of the error was not in print Keras training history, but a change in the underlying Python implementation. Please reinstall from GitHub. Change solved the problem for the provided example. I found a new error. All right. Custom. Yeah, this works for me. Let's try using this as an example because they said that this one works. Actually, and you know what? It might be having the validation data in the call itself. So let's try splitting these out and see if that helps. Guess and test. All right. These two. Whoop. We did call it model, right? We didn't call it something different. Yeah, no, we called it model. Okay. Let's make sure we're giving it the right data. And you know what? Let's actually set batch size and epochs at the top under our hyperparameters. Like reasonable people that follow best practices and are not just, you know, noodling around. We are just noodling around. Oh, Joel says on YouTube, I had to create a custom function with 2 inputs, yTrue, yPred, with the return value being the metric with 2 inputs. Custom function, 2 inputs, the true and the prediction, with return value being the metric with 2 inputs. I will try that second if this doesn't work. Plot history. Okay, so let's try just this bit. Let's actually move this down here to this other thing. We'll tidy all this up later and make it look like we're adults. I just want to see if we get the same error here as well. It's thinking. All right, and I think they were getting the same error as we were. Code for the F1 metric, because I'm not using a custom metric. I'm using binary accuracy, which is built in. It's thinking. We're leaning on that CPU. And while that bakes, let's keep looking at the, I have to listen to it again. Let's keep looking at the shared task. And Kabuchi Swag says, I want to play with neural nets and I have a crap ton of heart rate and HRV data. Does anyone have cool ideas for this? I have no idea what HRV is. Human respiration vouchers. You have to trade them for breaths. Potential models we can build with health data. Yeah, that's a good question. Nothing comes to mind for me, but I'm sure some folks are getting ideas. All right, blah blah blah. Irony. Here is the task. We provide 2 different subtasks for the automatic detection of irony on Twitter. So we're looking at. Oh, we got the same error, huh? Yeah, we did. Okay. So if we were looking at this and sort of looking at the papers from here and what did well, then I would be, we'd have to make some tweaks because we're looking at newspaper headlines and not tweets. Even though there is some sort of similarity, they are also fairly different genres. For one thing, newspaper headlines are edited in theory, and tweets generally are not. Yeah. And then they are looking for different types of irony. So that's nice. So this is a much more finely grained annotated data set, it looks like. All right, so this person, it looks like this person did what Joel did. Used a metric, custom metric, but I'm not using a custom metric. So this is maybe not the same error that I'm getting. Let's see. So this was in 2017. So this one actually, so the previous one, Joel says, I was still using the same built-in metric, but still had to create custom function. All right, let me give it a try. Let's see if we can get it to work. And I think this person had a custom function down at the bottom. And then on Twitch, Magician says RNN is probably most relevant to the heart rate time series data. Yeah, I think that sounds reasonable if you want to use neural nets or some flavor of that. I'm not sure exactly what you would try to do with that in terms of prediction. And then a link that might be helpful. Oh no, this is a different one. This is the one from 2007. Sorry, I want the one from earlier this year. And then I'm gonna try and do 2008. Here we go. Not 2008, 2018. All right. And then the custom metric that they were used was this one. And all right, so are they specifying a custom metric in this part of the code? I don't see it. Loading a model with a custom metric. File name, save, predict classes, history store. Okay, so here they are. So they have a custom metric, and then in the model specification, they actually say custom. So this is going to happen a little bit further up. So it was in our model specification? Maybe, question mark? I had so many plans for today. I was like, oh, we're going to do so many things. It'll be great. All right, and the thing that we are interested in is binary accuracy. And then the metrics is going to be C custom, and then let's try the all right. So I'm going to have to so we have a function, and then our input is going to be the actual thing. All right, I don't know where they're getting ypred from. So that might be the name built into it. I just want to see if there's anywhere else. So this is a custom metric, custom function, k-mean, ypred. So I don't know where ypred and ytrue are coming from. Okay, so this looks like something that is just specified in here. So we should be able to just use those same variables and it will work. All right, so we don't have to change these. I'm gonna move this up to here. Custom metric, and then they were using k-means. We're using binary. Where was that thing that we were looking at a while ago? It was the RStudio. There we go. Binary something or other. And hopefully that's not something that model was above this, where we were specifying metrics, binary accuracy, which I don't think they define in here. No. Okay. Because if there's something built in, I want to use the base built-in thing. Jer says, is it like an accuracy metric? Yes. So it's an accuracy metric with two things. Jer says, what does k underscore mean? I think that's going to be k-means, which is multi-class. Let's check that. K-means clustering. Scikit-learn cluster K-mean. TensorFlow contributor factorization K-mean. So is this for performing K-means, or is K-mean just an creates a graph for K-means clustering? Huh. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how a clustering algorithm could be a metric. So I guess that could be a metric if you didn't know clusters ahead of time, and so you perform this to assign them clusters, and then you use that as input to your model. But that sounds like a lot. Magician says, I think I know what's going wrong with the model. Do you? I would like to know this. So we definitely don't want k-means. We want just like accuracy, like the binary accuracy. Keras R binary accuracy. Loss and accuracy metrics, which we can vectors into binary class matrices. Oh, hush. Magician says, you're using R. All right. This is reshaping the training data. This is a little light. This might be hard to read. Optimizer, metrics equals accuracy. I guess we can just try this because multi-class accuracy and binary accuracy should be fine. Let's try this first and then see if that helps. Oh, actually. Is it that it wasn't in quotes, maybe? Maybe we passed a variable rather than a string? I think it was a string, though. I think it was. Oh, that's not going to help. Okay, we've already specified. Does it look good? It looks good. It looks pretty much the same. Do we get the same error? Probably we will. Ugh. We might be able to. Let's undo this, undo all this stuff. Maybe we can just actually say like accuracy. I don't know what it was that you did, Joel. It's thinking. Because the thing is, it is definitely spinning up something and it's doing something. I think it might be like starting to train. And then maybe it's running into problems when it's time for, I don't know, backprop. I have no idea. Because definitely some stuff is running because we are using a lot of our compute. But and not a whole lot of RAM. It doesn't seem to work correctly. I love to mess around with models trying to get them to train. Oop. Yeah, okay, no, we got the same error. Okay. Same error again. All right, let's try this. Is this gonna throw an error? Oh, it's running. That's taking a weirdly long time. Is something else running? Oh, wait. Wait, maybe it's not throwing the error. Maybe it's actually working. Maybe I shouldn't have changed whatever it was I just changed. Undo all that. Oh, no, redo some of that. Joel says, you are on the right path as me with custom function, but I replace k-means with metric underscore binary underscore accuracy. Magician says, try doing it without validation set, maybe. So the one that's running now doesn't have a validation set. It only has the training set. And then we have down here the code to validate, and it does seem to be running. So that's good. Oh, no, it looks like the thing that it's running is the model training, maybe? All right, let's stop this. I am, for now, going to set epochs to 1, so it's not running very long. Don't let me forget to set it to something bigger than 1. All right, and then I'm going to try... We can get rid of that because we know that they look good now. Try this, but instead of k-means, we are going to try... metric underscore binary underscore accuracy. All right. I don't know why you'd have to do this as a custom function when it is built in. Okay. So that's noted. Argument ypred is missing with no default. That's right. That's right. So that's not working so great. Necroduke says, hi everyone, hi Rachel, I'm too late again. No, not at all, we got another 10 minutes of frustration. I don't know, we might figure it out. The rough thing about doing this in R is there's just less help available on the internet because not as many people do deep learning in R. All right, do we have a model? We do. That's good. But they never, so the thing that's confusing me now is they never, in the GitHub example we were looking at, if I can find it again, they never specified, I think the thing that actually worked the best was trying accuracy. I think this is the one that it worked when it was just running for a while and it didn't throw any errors. So let's try that and see if we can get it to work. And here we aren't doing the validation data as well, and that might help as well. Joel says missing 2 input in metric. Yeah, I'm hoping that accuracy is just like the one that works. Like maybe that's the one they tested and it works. I feel like I'm just like poking things with a stick here. Because the thing is that in this example, they never defined ypred. Like it appears here and here and here and here. So it only ever shows up inside this custom metric function, and it looks like they never defined it anywhere else. And they are getting it to run. So I was assuming that these are sort of like what you need to call the things. Like that's the, it's weird to have a variable name that's specified, but I'm assuming that this is specified somewhere and this is just, you know, the right thing. I don't know. Oh, it ran. It ran, and we can see maybe some sort of history. You guys. So that's something. Definitely something happened. That's good. I'm pleased with that. Magician says, it says validation underscore split equals 0.2. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but isn't that splitting off a validation chunk? I think it is, and I'm okay with it doing that because I also have additional validation data, and you can never have too many validation data sets. That is my stance on the matter. Magician says, your metric needs y underscore pred and pred underscore true into the metric, right? Yeah, that's what I was assuming, but it does seems to have worked without it. And Shed says y underscore true and y underscore pred are built into the metrics function. Yeah, that's what I was assuming, but when I tried to use y underscore pred, it threw an error and was like, this isn't a thing, you haven't defined it. And I was like, I didn't think I had to define it. Okay, we see something. That's a delight. So I guess I'm just going to use accuracy instead. Binary accuracy don't work. Little note to myself, so don't go twiddling knobs. What'll break stuff later on. Yeah, and then I think we can evaluate. And it's going to be awful because we've done, you know, it's very underbaked at this point. It needs more. But we should be able to do X test, Y test. So we may have to feed in both of these together. Yep, yep, yep. Actually, this might just work. I don't think it's going to. It does not just work. Okay. No. Is that right? It looks like it's spelled wrong. Also, wow, my indentation is awful. This is what happens when you copy and paste code off the internet. Necroduke says, I just randomly woke up a few minutes ago and saw a YouTube notification, so I jumped on my laptop and on live stream. Lol, it's almost 3 a.m. here. What are you doing up at 3 a.m.? That's very early. Shed says, did you try binary accuracy? Maybe. And then Magician says, accuracy wasn't past the true value in the custom metric because you changed it from k-means and that only took the one input. It doesn't matter at this point, but if you went back to custom metric, we could fix it. Evaluate. I figured out the error. Will you tell me the score? All right. It's actually not that bad, actually. Wow. Okay. I'm skeptical. Wow. Okay. Doesn't matter at this point, but if we went back to custom metric, we could fix it. I will stick a pin in that because I have 3 minutes left. And what I'm going to do is try, I don't know if we're going to have time for this. I'm going to try 3 epochs maybe and just run the whole shabam, top to bottom, and see how it go. All right. And it looks like our model is good and we are fitting. And it's going to take a little bit longer. So yeah, I think this isn't the right metric to use for sure, but it is the metric that actually ran. So that's a good thing. And I think next time we're going to have to futz around with a custom metric. I did none of the things that I said I was going to at the beginning of the stream. We did no feature engineering. We did no like building a non-neural model. We barely trained one model. It's still going. Necroduke says, like I said, I randomly woke up and saw the notification, so I jumped in. RNNs are something I'm looking into for the last few days. Yeah, they're good. I like them. I actually gave a talk on Tuesday. I gave a lot of talks this week on a paper from ENNLP that shows that for hierarchical tasks, there's evidence that RNNs outperform transformers. Magician says, how often do you do this? So I live code every Friday in this time spot. Most Fridays, like if it's a holiday, I don't generally. And then I read papers on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Pacific. And right now we're reading Attention is All You Need, the NeurIPS paper from 2017, which is the one that lays out transformers. So I'm kind of on a transformers kick. And I'm hoping that this finishes relatively soon. So there's a lot of stuff that we could do. Fix the metric. It's not great right now. We can also get the GPU up and running. So you may notice that I have validated this account with a phone so I can actually turn on the GPU and stuff, which is nice. And work on neural model, and then also feature engineering. And I was hoping that we could just like press the button and it would train, and then we could sit around and look at which tab was it in? Not that one. This one. And look at some of the papers that people submitted to SumEval this year. But alas, we did not. So the competition is over, and you can go through and look at the results and read all of the different approaches that people had. Yeah. Magician says that's typically how stuff works. 5% ambitious idea, 95% figuring out what's wrong. A lot of stuff was wrong. Yeah, woo. So we have overfit in one epoch. Something is very wrong. But that is future Rachel's problem, because current Rachael has an appointment to go to. Oh my god, what a mess. It ran. That's all. I'm happy with that. I'm gonna commit this and make it public so that, you know, everybody can see my shame. Yeah, and I will see you guys if you tune in on Wednesday. We're gonna keep reading Attention is All You Need and get into the math. And if not, I will see you on Friday if you tune in next Friday. And I'll see you guys then, and have a good weekend. And Necroduke, go back to sleep. It's too early. Good night.